Hi everybody, this is my happy face. We've gotten some progress working with the Nikon D5100. If you happened to listen to me whining earlier, I was not having any luck getting 1080 output out of the camera. Nikon Hacker is an outfit that provides alternate firmware for the D5100 and other Nikon models that allow you to use the HDMI output of the camera, clean it up, get rid of all of the camera menu items, and using a feature on the camera called Live View, you're in effect able to capture what the camera is pointing at, which is exactly what we're doing right now. This is the D5100 that we're filming with. Now, my earlier attempts, there were several settings on the software that were supposed to allow you to capture a 1080i signal out of HDMI, a 1080i signal full screen, which sounded good. And there was a third option. I can't recall exactly what it was. I had selected 1080 HDMI full screen, and my results were not happening. What was happening was we were getting a 720 signal from the camera, and when I kept trying to force it to be handled as a 1080 signal, the image was distorted. There was a nice clean 720 frame in the upper left-hand corner, but the rest of the image size was full of, video artifacts and weirdness. I contacted the manufacturer of my video capture devices, and they did some testing and said, "You're not getting a 1080i stream. You must be getting a 720 stream." I went back and verified. While my AverMedia Rec Central software was set for 1080 and didn't give me any indication that it was doing anything else, it was actually automatically downscaling it to 720, and that's what led to my distortion. So I went back and I reflashed the software, the firmware on the camera, and I changed it to the 1080i HDMI setting. I'll show you what I'm talking about. I've got a little setup here where I can come in. This is what we use to select the features we want on the firmware. You may not be able to read these, so I'll tell you what I'm checking. There's an option at the top called Remove Time-Based Video Restrictions. I'm going to click that. That keeps the camera from turning off after 20 minutes of live streaming. I want Live View Manual Control, ISO, and Shutter, meaning that I can make adjustments while I'm in Live View. I want Clean HDMI and LCD Live View. Now here we go. There's a bunch of stuff here. Video. This is, I believe, for video recording. And in this successful instance, I checked this box, 54 megabit per second bit rate. I believe that's going to be, well, it seems to be working, so I'm going to leave that set as it is. These red ones, I presume, are alpha releases, meaning that they're not vetted yet, and checking on them may be a bit more risky than otherwise. Now here, this green section is what I was talking about. HDMI output 1080i. That's what I selected, and that's what we're working with right now on this camera. You can see that we have a 1080i full screen option and a 720 full screen option. Obviously, I want to use 1080, not because I'm going to live stream it at 1080. I'm going to live stream at 720, but using a 1080 input source and lowering the size within Wirecast of the canvas to 720 gives you an interesting editing option, which I'll show you in a minute. So this is what we selected. We're going to say a lossless compression, disable Nikon Star Eater. That's an interesting feature that Nikon builds into cameras, where if they have a bad pixel on the sensor, they will turn it off automatically so that you won't notice. And it won't mess with your photos. It's a long story, but you could go to SimeonPilgrim.com, which is the gentleman who spearheaded this Nikon Hacker project. In fact, we're on that site right now using this patching tool. I will select JPEG compression and non-brand battery. I don't care because I'm using Nikon batteries, but apparently the camera can distinguish between a Nikon battery and a non-Nikon battery, and normally you can't use other batteries, but with this alteration you can. So that's the source the settings that we did. Then we save the patched firmware. Yeah, I understand that I'm taking some risks here. And I'll just call this sample.bin go. So that's how it's done. Now, back to why in the world I would want to do output at 720 when I'm capturing 1080. The reason for that, and this is a trick that I learned from Robbie over at Category 5 TV, Robbie Ferguson. He did a video much earlier that showed this little trick off. If I go ahead and take this image and zoom in to a 720 portion of it, or a portion of the 1080 screen, and stretch it out, I still have pretty decent resolution. And then I can duplicate that shot and move the background around a little bit so that when I select the alternate shot, it appears as if the camera is panning back and forth. That's what the value of a 1080 source is when you're streaming at 720. Because in effect, what you're doing is you're taking a 720 window on a larger 1080 screen, and you're taking a snapshot of it, and you're moving it over, and you're fixing this as a source. Now, when you go between these two, it looks as if the camera's panning back and forth. Very nice little technique. It's going to save me a lot of time and energy because I don't have camera people to work with. And very often when I'm doing live events, I have someone walking around in the front of the room, and it's tough to keep after them unless I set up several of these shots ahead of time. And I can always zoom back in the occasion where, he's moving too much, and cutting back and forth between shots would be a distraction to my viewers. But that's basically it. I am pretty happy. The alternate camera is also 1080. This one is a Canon HV20 consumer camcorder, and it's running at 1080i. So pretty happy. Very, very pleased that I'm making some progress, and hopefully we can begin using this Nikon D5100 for our live streaming events, and I won't have to replace my video capture card.